Boston, the South Shore, the South Coast, and Cape Cod. Our firm takes pride in assisting our clients in the next chapter of their lives by taking a holistic approach to their real estate endeavors. We believe that every move should be a moving experience. Every week, my real estate team member Mary Baker and I, along with the director of Boston Connect Real Estate, Melissa Wallace, provide you with our unique marketing approach to selling homes and share with you our expertise in navigating the home buying process. We like to mix it up sometimes, so not only will you hear our perspective on real estate topics, but you will hear the expert thoughts and opinions of some of our real estate agents at Boston Connect Real Estate and the preferred professionals that we trust. Be part of our roundtable. If you have any questions during the show, please call 781-837-4900. We'd love to talk real estate. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and wherever you listen to podcasts at Talk Real Estate Roundtable. If you would like a one-on-one consultation with me and my team or one of the dedicated agents at Boston Connect Real Estate to discuss your real estate needs, you can connect with us at bostonconnect.com or 781-826-8000. Now, sit back, relax, take good notes, and let's talk real estate.
And hello to all my South Shore neighbors. You are listening to Talk Real Estate Roundtable. My name is Melissa Wallace, and I am joined in studio by, you're not going to guess who it is, Mary Baker. I'm only teasing you.
I'm not a regular anymore.
I know.
But I very much am here, I promise.
Yeah, you are. You're usually, off doing something, trying to get some money.
Off to the races.
Off to the races. Getting some money for us.
Helping some people.
Finding some homes.
Finding some houses. Actually, somebody just sent me a new listing that they have coming on, so I'm excited for that.
Oh, nice.
I got sneak peeks, guys.
Got a sneak peek. Yeah, if you want an agent that has got a sneak peek, call Mary Baker.
Yeah,
and you'll hear her less on the radio.
Even less.
Less on the radio.
In case you didn't like me.
No, I'm teasing you. Yeah, so we're running the show tonight. Sharon is not here tonight. She's, taking the night off. We
got a lot of things coming up.
Yeah, we have a lot going on at the office. So we were like, we'll let the big boss have the night off and us two little chickadees. You can already hear that it's going to be a night for sure. Sharon is going to be like, what did I allow happen tonight? But yeah, so I am Melissa Wallace, and I'm in studio with Mary Baker. Hello. Hello. And we're just going to have some fun tonight. We're going to be talking about sort of setting expectations and preparing for closing day, specifically in winter, because winter's here.
Yeah, if you didn't know, it was like 25 degrees the other day.
Yeah, it is freezing. 25 the other day. I mean, what about today?
Well, so yesterday I was in New Hampshire, and I swear, it's always 10 degrees cooler up there, but I needed a winter hat, winter gloves. I needed another layer for sure. And it's just, I'm not ready for it. I got to be honest. I'm really, really not.
Yeah.
I'm not ready for the snow.
I don't know if I'm ready for the snow. I feel like, yes, we got sort of a good amount of snow last year. I can't even really remember, like from one year to the next. I don't remember. My friend Stephanie, who lives in Florida, was like texting me the other day, and she's like, did you guys get a lot of snow? And I was like, what? No.
Yeah, where's the snow?
Because she has family in New York, so she just figured that we got snow too. I'm like, no, different state. Like we're not the same. We're not the same. But I couldn't remember like if we got a lot of snow last year.
I just had a pretty mild winter last year, but we did have a few sizable snowstorms.
I think all I can really remember from last winter is like being snowed in the house with you and Sam, and like realizing that I had a bag of chips in the car, and we were all like hungry.
I have a video.
And I was like, we were watching a movie. I'm like, oh, you know what I could really use is some chips, the French onion sun chips. Mm-hmm. And I had a bag in my car, and I said, you know what? Bundling up, and I'm going to get them.
I'm going out.
And Mary and Sam stood at the window and watched me.
And that was a blizzard.
Yeah,
we were having a little bit of a blizzard that day. And you
definitely.
Braved it.
Yeah, I braved it for the good of chips for the house.
Sometimes the girls got to eat.
Yeah, we got to eat. So we'll talk about snow. Yep. And how that could affect closing day. Yep. But okay,
I was going to say this is a fun topic for me because final walkthrough, I used to say very early on in my career. So we're talking about what to expect on closing day. And usually on closing day, a buyer and seller technically are performing their final walkthrough. So the final walkthrough of the house being the last time that the seller is in the house and the first time that the buyer, or the last time that the buyer is seeing it before they take ownership of it. So it's always, I used to say early on in my career that final walkthrough days were the most stressful days.
Yeah,
because
I can imagine.
Because there's kind of a lot of things that as the broker or realtor are out of your control, because you're kind of relying upon the sellers to perform and act in a way that you know in your head, right? So like this is when we're talking about setting expectations. You know what the expectation that you're looking for at final walkthrough, but that isn't always necessarily conveyed to either the buyer or the seller. So it can be very stressful when things are out of your control.
Isn't everything stressful when you don't have? Well,
I'm
kind
more
of a
gray
control
hairs. I'm not kidding. I'm literally plucking them out. I know every hairdresser is going to tell me not to do that, but I'm plucking them out of my the crown.
Don't do that. And I'm not a hairdresser.
The crown of my head every day.
I know. It's funny because this morning, I digress, but this morning I was thinking, oh, I'm very fortunate to not have to color my hair.
Don't ever color your hair.
I know. I know I want to so bad because I get so bored with it, but I'm very fortunate that I don't go and, color my hair. But I was thinking, I was like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do when I get grays? Because I don't color my hair now. And I haven't really looked to see if I have grays, which I'm surprised that they're not like all over. But I was just thinking,
we're coming up on a holiday.
Yeah, we're coming up on a holiday.
I'll attack you.
Yeah, I'll either have grays or I just won't have hair anymore. I'll just rip it out. But okay. Yeah, I was thinking that this morning when I was getting ready because I blow dried my hair and I don't usually do that a lot. So I paid attention to it. Anyways, if anybody cares, just let me know. Stop. If you want to join in on the discussion or have any questions for us, you can call George at the studio, 781-837-4900. If you're a little shy and don't want to come on air, we are live on Facebook. So, Mary, I'm going to let you talk for a second so I can get us all set up. We are live right now on Sharon Costa McNamara, and we're going to be live on all of the Connect pages. So, Mary, jump it off, or whatever the heck the saying. Jump it off, whatever. Kick it off. Kickstart this thing. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. Caught yourself there. So one of the things when we're talking about setting expectations for closing day, and I mentioned it earlier, so obviously there's a lot of different nuances that can come up. There's a lot of different things that can happen. When buyers are conducting their final walkthrough, oftentimes they come to us and they say like, okay, well, what am I really looking for, right? So when you're conducting your final walkthrough as a buyer, you are looking for, especially in the winter. So if we focus just on the winter, right, we're making sure that no pipes have burst. So we got no water in the house, no, all of the appliances that were said to be left there by the seller, they actually are there and they are functioning. The water is running. There's no holes in the walls that weren't there before. And this one can be a little bit of a tricky one, right? Because when I say holes in the walls, I'm thinking of the movers were taking that massive bed frame that I put up here 20 years ago down the stairs, and one of them accidentally put a hole in the wall with that giant bed frame. That's a I wouldn't say major defect, but that is a defect that's very recognizable. But holes is also anything that is larger really than a nail hole is what you're looking at. That is, when we talk about expectations, that is supposed to be patched and or patch sanded and touch-up painted by the seller prior to closing. So
we were recently on a group text. We have a young professional networking group here at Boston Connect Real Estate. And one of our agents, reached out to all of us and said, am I in the right here? Because the buyer's agent was sending pictures of things that were on the wall of their listing. It was a Boston Connect listing. So the agent was just verifying, like, am I supposed to tell my clients that they have to leave this? Or can I tell my clients that they can take it? And they were all things that were nailed or screwed to the wall. Yes. So I would say if any agents are listening and they're sort of maybe new to the business or not unsure of need some sort of clarification, always lean into, people, and you can give us a call too. Because I felt like you were very like black and white when it comes to it.
Well, we've experienced it, right? So, and agents may differ in their opinions of this, but it's my understanding based off of our experiences over my 11 years and Sharon's 25, however long she's been in the business at this point.
I think 25 might be like a couple years too much, so she
20,
might be like,
22.
"You're aging me."
I don't know. I know I can say collectively we've been in real estate for 30 years. Okay, so that's what I'll go with. So our collective 30 years of real estate has shown us that anything that is larger than a nail hole or screwed into the wall.
Yeah.
So that's a big difference between a nail. So, right, I'm going to take a picture of my beautiful family and I'm going to nail it in, or I'm going to put a nail in the wall, put two nails in the wall, and I'm going to hang my picture on it.
Yeah.
That is not considered a fixture. Because
My family picture is not included in the sale of my home.
1,000%. So I can take that picture frame and I can remove it from the nails, and it is not a fixture. If I took that same picture frame and you think about the back of, the back of a picture frame, or let's not even use a picture frame, let's use a shelf that you are attaching to hang glasses on, or a wine
fixture. That's pretty common, and I feel like that was one of the pictures that was sent to us in that group.
It was
because there was a bar cart underneath it. So obviously the bar cart is a piece of furniture. However, you've now screwed in shelves.
That's the big thing. That's the screw, right? So it's screwed into the wall. So removing that screw, you are now removing what is considered a fixture of the property, because you have affixed it to the house itself. You can exclude, so as a little bit of an aside, anything that is considered a fixture, you can exclude from the listing. You can say, hey, no, these are actually antique shelves that my great-grandmother gave me, and I'm taking those with me.
Yeah.
Think of it as a light fixture, right?
Yeah.
If you want to take a light fixture from your house, we need to exclude it and or replace it prior to selling.
Honestly, I would replace it before I sell,
1,000%.
because what if someone comes in here and says, "Oh my God, I'm in love with that," or for some reason it didn't get excluded, or okay,
so
you're pointing at me.
So my big thing with this is, and this is more, me looking at it from the buyer's perspective, I would prefer that the seller replace the fixture prior to my buyers walking in, only because. And this is no fault to the seller, but the fixture that you probably have there is a beautiful, gorgeous fixture that matches perfectly with the decor that you have in the house.
It might be their taste.
It might be their taste, but also when you go to replace that fixture, it's human nature. You're probably going to go down to Lowe's, Home Depot, and get what is in stock, right? So it's not going to have that same value as the fixture that you're taking with you. So disappointment can ensue.
Or even like wow factor. Yeah. So like you have a chandelier and then you replace it with like,
room changes. The whole style of the room can change based off of a fixture like that. So better to just do it ahead of time.
Yeah. And I would think that, as a buyer, okay, so as a seller, I want to exclude X, Y, and Z, and you put it on the market, and those things are still there, but the buyer should know that they're not involved, not included in the sale. But as a buyer, I'd be walked through, and I would probably feel disappointed that some things are not included, because I would like fall in love with certain things, or like feel like that is made for the space, or and this happens, you have the same taste, because a lot of things are trendy and a lot of people like trendy things. So, I like that chandelier because it's in trend right now. But where's I going with that? Oh yeah. So then I would also want to I would want clarification before I even go into the house when things are not included. Like, I would want my agent to be like, hey, listen, I just want to let you know there's a chandelier in there. And I'm just saying chandelier because I kind of like the word. There's a chandelier in the dining room or in the foyer that is excluded.
Yes.
So don't even look that way. Like, I would want that expectation beforehand. I wouldn't want the disappointment afterwards.
Yeah, so they should, if it is a fixture that they're taking, it should be disclosed in MLS, and so a reasonable expectation is by the time I'm walking through the door, I should know what's staying and what's going. What you would not potentially know at that point is what fixture is being replaced, right? So the seller may not have...
Yeah, like replaced with what? Is that what you mean?
Exactly. So the seller may not have the picture of the fixture that they are going to be installing in replacement of the one that they're going to be taking.
Yeah.
And you don't necessarily, as a buyer, most often have the ability to say, I want you to install this fixture. Yeah. This is my taste, and not whatever one you were planning on. Right? That's not a typical conversation. Not to say that it doesn't happen.
Well, I was going to say not a typical conversation with resales, but perhaps in new construction. So say somebody is buying a model home and, model homes, and correct me if I'm wrong, a lot of the times it's the builder or whoever works for the builder is, picking all those things that go into that house, and, that's how they get their price and whatever. But that could also be swayed into the taste of that person. So, it could be, again, my word, chandelier, that a buyer might come in and be like, oh no, like absolutely not. Like this is not good in this space, because that could happen. It might just not be their taste, and they might put in their offer, chandelier to be, switched out or whatever. Like, have you seen something like that?
Very infrequently, but there's potentially that we could be leaning more towards that, right? Builders and just sellers in general, we're seeing that there's a little bit more give and take, right? The buyers have a little bit more power than they used to. And I don't even like using the word power, but they're in the driver's seat a little bit more than they used to be back a year, 2 years ago. So would a new construction or a developer be more apt to say, yes, fine, I'll change out the light fixture.
Well, because they might be able to put in another model.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
They could take out something and put it somewhere else. Yeah.
Because take it or leave it.
Just think of, the development that you're working on right now. You have more than one model. So if somebody comes in and says, oh my God, I love this, except for this one light fixture, I'm sure, it might be a consideration to be like, okay, well, if you want to put in an offer, we're happy to maybe switch it out with something a little less flashy.
There's conversations that can be had these days.
Yeah. And I think I don't remember the word that you just said, but I think buyers can be more educated. So if they are able to see properties more than once, so they're more often be able to sort of notice something like, oh, I wonder if this is included, or is it in the MLS? Oh, I didn't notice this before. Like, it's screwed into the wall. Does that mean it would be mine? Like, type of thing before they even put in an offer. And the clarification before the offer happens should be a conversation.
1,000%.
It shouldn't be, oh, I'm at home inspection, let me take pictures of a bunch of stuff, like, is this thing? Well, it's like, did you put it in your offer? Was it in MLS? Yeah. Did we have the conversation before your offer was accepted? Well, why are the questions coming up now?
That's why there's a big difference between the market that we're currently in and the market that we were in, right? Everything was very fast paced, and we sounded like the squeaky wheel, saying that we can't advise buyers to be buying a house after they've only seen it for 5 minutes, right?
Yeah.
But that's the positions that they were realistically in. So all of those conversations that you just mentioned, the fixture conversation, a lot of those were happening after the fact, or you're trying to get as much information to the buyer as you possibly can before they have to make a decision. But sometimes there was a disconnect between levels of expectation, right?
Yeah.
Now, and I think the word isn't educated, it's buyers are more discerning. So when they're walking through these properties, they're looking and they're a little bit more, they're questioning more things. They're having more opportunities to see potential defects. They're having more opportunities to even ask questions. And that's giving them that driver's seat mentality, which is, it's wonderful. I work with a lot of buyers. I absolutely adore it. It's wonderful.
I'm going to continue to use educated because I'm all for an educated buyer. I'm all for a buyer to be able to see the house multiple times. And I know that there was a time where it was not able to do that, but we've heard personally a lot of buyer's remorse in the past couple of years. And
wait, knock on wood, I have not. None of my buyers have said that.
Oh.
Whoa.
There has been some buyer's remorse, and we, would
like,
never...
Don't lump me into that.
We would never...
What do you know that I don't know?
We would never want that to happen to our clients. So, I love the fact that, buyers are able to see it more than once.
1,000%.
So...
Let's do it, baby.
That's it. Let's go on a date. Let's go on a couple dates before we get married.
This isn't what? Married at First? No, Married at First Sight.
Married at First Sight. Oh yeah. Well, yeah. But on Love Is Blind, they don't see each other and they get engaged in the pods. So I guess it's like getting engaged. Yeah. When you get an offer accepted, you get engaged.
Yep.
Okay. And then do you make it to closing day, which is the wedding? What are you going to say on closing day?
Is it a yes?
I do. I do or I don't.
I do not.
Anyways, I'm not getting married, but Mary is.
I don't think we're expecting an I do not. Unless Sam does something
No,
bad.
it'll be I do. Ooh.
I do. Okay, anyways.
Okay, so we could talk a million. Okay, do you have anything else to say about the screws in the walls? Because we have a million other things to talk about.
Let's move on from fixtures and go into what to expect on what's a reasonable expectation on closing day.
Well, we're talking about specifically in the winter. So what happens in the winter? It snows. Okay,
Yes.
so say a snowstorm happens like before your final walkthrough or during your final walkthrough, after your final walkthrough, in between your closing. Like, what are some expectations that you should have that, you have to consider the weather?
Yes.
So
I would say, from my perspective as a buyer's agent, even as a seller's agent, if my sellers are still in the house and they are moving out of the house, right, and I have buyers that are coming into, I would anticipate that at least the main walkway and or the main access to the property that sellers would be moving out of and buyers would moving in through, that would be reasonably cleared if possible.
Yeah.
Right? That is that's an expectation, right? Nobody wants ice, everybody, if you're moving out of it, you had to clear it anyway.
it's an expectation. I feel like it's common sense. However,
yes.
However, it's not always the case.
No, it is not.
No. So I think maybe setting that expectation
Yeah.
as well, being like, hey, and you'll know, like when you get to the final walkthrough, you'll know if everybody in the transaction has been reasonable. If they haven't been reasable,
Or
you
if
should
they
probably
or if they lack common sense.
you should probably expect that those things are not going to be done. I mean, you just, whether it's right, wrong, or indifferent, we're human at the end of the day.
Yep.
And sometimes there are some situations where people don't want to move and it's a little bit difficult.
Yeah.
And you'll know that pretty early on in a transaction, whether somebody is going to be reasonable.
And I think that relies, so in that conversation specifically, any buyer and or I would say a buyer specifically is relying upon the expertise of the agent to say, hey, I want to set you up for what the day of closing is going to look like.
Yeah.
Potentially just based on this one specific transaction, right? There was, and I'll just tell one quick story. So we had a buyer who was purchasing a property. It was unfortunately a divorce situation. We knew that when we had made our offer. Upon walking into the house, it was very clear that there was a level of disrepair in the house that might not. It just
Was it hidden?
No, there was a lot of stuff in the house. There was a lot. And I say this, you can really feel the energy of a house when you walk into it. There was a very, very heavy energy. You could tell that there was like a very tumultuous relationship going on with the sellers. Like it was really, really bad divorce. Mm-hmm. And upon putting in our offer, or actually upon walking out of the house, I looked at our buyers and I said, hey, I just want to set the stage for what this could potentially look like going down the road. I do not see the amount of stuff that is in here and the amount of I'm trying to think of what the right word is, but the amount of hostility that's surrounding these two parties, right? This divorce. I don't anticipate that all of this kind of junk that's outside, all of their belongings that are inside,
and it was junk. It's not
legitimate junk.
It was legitimate junk.
I'm not
calling
like,
somebody's like bedroom set junk.
No, it's like the stuff that just they hadn't gone to the dump yet. Honest to God, like that's what it really was. I don't anticipate that they're going to be able to get this out, and or if they are, anticipate that the house isn't going to be clean. Mm-hmm. Anticipate that there's going to be tons of scuffs on the walls, and we're going to uncover a lot of things come final walkthrough, and or we might be discussing holdbacks come final walkthrough and getting cleaning ladies in there. So like it's a whole. And the buyer was the first
cleaning ladies, or how many times have we cleaned a house?
Oh, that's happened.
I can remember having to clean off. I did a final walkthrough for one of your listings, and I was cleaning off spaghetti sauce off of the living room walls while the buyers continued their walkthrough. I'm like, oh, thank goodness that they left a sponge there, and I just like sort of like, don't mind me, I'm just washing your walls. Not a big deal. But how many times have you cleaned out a house?
Absolutely. And it happens, right? So
you don't know how much stuff you have. It's not even just like junk or like the walls need to be clean. It's like you don't realize how much stuff you accumulate, especially if you have been living there for years.
Oh, absolutely.
Until
we had a seller once leave thousands of dollars of pots and pans in this big pullout, like the very bottom pullout of a huge island. And I took a picture of it and I said, hey, I don't think you meant to leave all of this. And she was like, oh my gosh, no, I didn't. So I packed up all the pots and pans.
Those are my fine pots and pans from
cleaned out the cabinets and drove them over to her house. So, I mean, there's a difference between, oh my goodness, I forgot this. And like, I completely spaced. I'm so sorry. Or I ran out of time. I'm neglecting as a seller. Yeah. I'm neglecting to take care of this and I'm going to let it be somebody else's problem.
Yeah.
There's a big difference between those two. And unfortunately we see the latter a lot. Right. So going back to that story with that specific buyer, they walked into the house or walked out of the house before they made the offer, understanding that, you know, we might have to do 2 final walkthroughs. We might have to reserve one of our times to come back into the house as an almost final walkthrough to kind of see what the stage of the condition of the house was at 2 weeks prior to closing, and then do another final walkthrough day of closing and really see where we were at. And if we had to line up cleaners, if we had to line up a dumpster, we were working on getting potential quotes for if we had to ask for a holdback, because it was such a nasty transition for these sellers. Unfortunately, they were going through a lot. I will say, buyers ended up withdrawing, and it did not. It never sold.
Yeah,
it never sold because it was that bad. But they relied on me as their buyer's agent to set that stage for them, and then the house that they ended up purchasing was like, you would eat off the floor. So it was complete and total.
Well, that's nice.
It was opposite.
If you're into that kind of thing.
I mean, I do have a 5-second rule. I do abide by that. So.
Yeah.
In certain circumstances.
Me, if it's like 5 minutes from the expiration date, I'm like, absolutely not. Yeah. Nope. Yeah.
It could be the day of the expiration date.
I know. I would still, like, yeah, I can't. I don't know. It's something about it just freaks me out. Something I wanted to mention, because you said, like, you know, it's not always going to be like in perfect condition. When going back to snow, like, snow can hide things. Oh, so I think was it your turn, one of your transactions where like, or maybe it was maybe the Grady's or somebody's transaction within the past couple of years, it had snowed and there was a ton of junk and trash that was left in the backyard, and the snow had covered all of it. So, and we just kept getting snow and more snow and more snow. And then when the snow finally started melting, they were like, oh my gosh, are those trash bags? Is that a tire? Is that the... And the sellers had left a bunch of stuff back there because they knew that it was just going to continue to snow. So they didn't feel like they needed to take that stuff out.
Yeah, that's not reasonable.
No. So I think they went after the sellers and said, like, you need to get this stuff out of here. Yeah. Like, this is all trash, whatever. And I think they ended up doing it too.
Yeah. So I think that there's a lot to be said about different dynamics, and everybody has different ways in maintaining their homes, and everybody has different ways of how they would want to pass their homes along to anybody else. As sellers agents, I think we need to really advise our sellers on what we feel is appropriate and kind of gauge their situation, right? Like maybe we can see coming down the road that they aren't going to have the ability to potentially clean the house out appropriately themselves. So maybe we're suggesting that they get a cleaner in order to be able to pass it on to the next person. And it is an expense, absolutely, but it does go a long way with that. And I'm a personal believer that everybody should have their house professionally cleaned before they're giving it to handing it over to the buyer. But that's just me. Unless you're an exceptionally clean person.
Yeah.
Like I know.
I would say that if I was a buyer, I would have my house professionally cleaned before I moved in.
Yeah. Absolutely. And I think so. Is it the buyer's responsibility or the seller's responsibility? I think it would be a very nice thing of the seller to do.
Yeah.
So then the buyers come in and they have no reason. Maybe something did go awry at final walkthrough.
Yeah.
They're appreciative of one thing and kind of not hyper focusing on all of the potential negative.
Hey, we got a caller.
Oh, we do. What's our caller's name?
Jack. He's from Plymouth.
Okay. Jack from Plymouth. Are you there?
Well, hello, girls. How are you tonight?
We're
Doing
wonderful.
well. How are you, Jack?
I'm doing good. You have an interesting show. I've been listening.
Oh, thank you for listening, and thank you for calling, too.
Yeah, it's kind of bittersweet for me because when I purchased my house...
Hang on, I can't even hear him on the air.
I can. Oh, you can't hear him on the air?
No.
Oh. Okay.
Oh.
We can hear him. Can we have a conversation?
Well,
Yeah, it's going to be a little awkward for the audience at home listening.
Okay. Okay,
so here's one for you.
How about we try have him call again?
Okay, Jack,
Yeah.
could you try giving us a call again?
I will.
Okay, perfect.
Thanks.
That's weird.
So yeah, that's weird. So while we wait for Jack to call back,
Yeah.
it is. So I can hear even in his voice. So for our callers who weren't able to hear him, he said, your topic is kind of bittersweet for me because when he purchased his house, and I'm assuming that we're gonna, go down a conversation of how it either didn't meet his expectations or maybe it superseded. Who knows? But that you don't want that fine. And this is why I said it used to be the most stressful day for me as an agent because you don't want either party to be disappointed on the final day. Say the transaction was absolutely amazing. Everybody was in such high spirits. Then you get to the final walkthrough day and expectations aren't aligned for how the property is supposed to be passed on or left. One of the things that we had chatted about a little bit earlier, and this is very, very common, is the trash barrels, right?
Yeah. So this is the whole reason why the conversation got brought up is because one of our agents had talked about trash barrels and whatever. So,
yeah. So so the trash barrels, it's very common, for, where as if you're a seller, where are you going to put your trash as you're moving out? Well, truthfully, and I shouldn't even say truthfully, if your closing day is, trash day is the next day, I think it would be perfectly fine and reasonable to say, all right, I have a trash bag or two, or even a full trash can, right? That's usually you get two. So if you have a full trash can, and your town is picking up the very next day, I, as a buyer's agent, I think I could easily explain that to my buyer and say, hey,
that
listen,
I feel like is reasonable.
yeah, this is...
All right.
Yeah, I think we have Jack.
We have Jack back on the line.
Jack, can you hear me?
Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Can you hear me?
George.
Okay, all good. Yeah,
Okay,
all good.
perfect. Everyone can hear you, Jack. Yay!
Thanks for coming back, Jack.
Yay, awesome. Well, your show's very interesting, but I have a couple of suggestions.
Okay.
And I don't know if they're legal or not, but why not request the claim history on the insurance policy for the homeowners while those people had the house? Just in case there was any claims on that house and there was damage that was not properly fixed or repaired, that would somewhat tell you if there was any hidden damage, which you guys were talking about, I believe, earlier.
Yeah.
So you certainly, not that it's not legal or not, but you certainly can request that information from the seller, but the seller is under no obligation to give you that information. So unless there was a way for you to legally go to whomever their insurance agent is and or go to town hall and potentially see if any insurance claims have been put in, you're absolutely able to do that as a buyer. Anything that is public record and or knowledge, you are able to do your due diligence on and find out that information prior to really your purchase and sales agreement. At post purchase and sales agreement, there isn't a ton of recourse unless it was deliberately hidden.
Yeah. Well, I can even, just to add on to that, if you went to town hall and said, I'm just wanted to pull the jacket and see like sort of what you have on this property. Curious if there's any claims against it. So it would be in there. And correct me if I'm wrong, because maybe the one of the departments, what, building department, or
Yeah.
an inspector might have to go there from the town to make sure that, it's all settled once the work is done. But also that could be a question that your agent could ask even before you even put in an offer. I mean,
Yes.
it's very common to get a bunch of questions from the agent and saying like, oh, XYZ, do you this, and this, and oh, have there been any insurance claims on the property?
Yep.
I don't think anyone will get offended if that is asked. I mean, it's
Unless they're trying to potentially, if they're
I think if
unwilling
somebody
to answer the question.
I think if somebody
you
is
can
offended by the
assume.
question, they might be hiding something. It's not.
Exactly.
I feel like and Sharon is notorious for saying that. I'm not saying this. Like, I'm not questioning you. I'm asking a question. So I feel like if the question is presented in the right way, I hate
Yeah.
to say it that way, but if it's presented in the right way, it shouldn't be a big deal.
Yes. I
It's
agree.
kind of funny. I was listening to the story about all the trash underneath the snow. I wrote in my piece, I was the buyer, and I requested that any and all personal material was to be removed from the property prior to the finalization of the sale of the home.
Yep. Which is very common.
Yeah, very common.
Yeah. So, but having that helps, I believe. At least it helped me.
Yeah.
So I think.
Did you have a bad situation with trash? Sorry,
Not
that's a question.
super bad, but enough to notice that I was not going to be the one responsible to move all
Okay.
this stuff out when I'm trying to
Yeah.
move my own stuff.
Yeah.
And that's really where we see so a lot of times, and I don't know if this is the first house that you've purchased or if you're
Yes.
it is the first house. So a lot of times what we see, especially in older homes, is there's sellers want to leave buyers what they deem is appropriate for the house, right? So what goes with the house. So I'm talking about paint cans and trim and maybe some drywall that I didn't get to
Screens.
using. Screens, absolutely, screens should be left if they're in good condition. Sometimes I've seen doors,
Extra
flooring, doors that are left, but it has to be communicated from seller to buyer. I want to leave you all of these things. Do you want them? And if the buyer says no, I'm going through the house. I'm changing all the flooring. I'm changing all of the walls. I don't want any of your trim. I don't want any of your old drywall. I don't want that. This was a common one. The lockers that everybody had back in like the 90s, the lockers that were left to you by the previous owner from 20 years ago. I don't want any of that. The seller is responsible for removing those items. Period. End of story.
Yes, but for me, I felt more comfortable having that in my
Absolutely.
documents.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and you
There
should.
would be no misunderstandings.
Yeah.
And even with that, are you saying that there was still a little bit of a misunderstanding?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was still stuff left, but what do you do? Another little thing that happened, well, it wasn't little, it was big, but I can't go into full detail, but between viewing the house at noontime, and it was a rainy period, it was in winter,
Okay.
but it was raining, not snowing.
Yep.
By the time I went to sign the papers and came back with the first U-Haul, my whole downstairs was flooded.
Oh.
Oh.
Did you have a sump pump?
And no, the owners hid that they were having flooding in the house.
Okay, so that goes into a whole disclosure issue.
Yeah.
That goes into
And then I learned 3 years later by a nosy neighbor that he actually put pipes across the front lawn to cover up it. I never noticed. Neither did my realtor. And neither did the person who did the inspection on the house.
So pipes across the front lawn as in a
One
French
pipe
drain?
across the front lawn that connected to the drain spout on the left side of the house if you were facing it.
I see.
And that was to hopefully not have me having flooding.
Gotcha. Yeah, so if the seller had actual knowledge and a history of flooding, they do have an obligation to disclose that. So that is a disclosable item, and it should have been relayed.
And we are talking they have an obligation, but in a legal standpoint, later on you have to go after them if they did not disclose it.
Absolutely. And that goes into a whole different topic of how far do you as a buyer take certain things, right? Especially after you're already in the house. What is worth your effort and time and energy and financial commitment? But no, it doesn't feel good for anybody to have things hidden from them. And I
not
think
at all.
that's where we talk a lot on this show specifically about expectations between parties aligning. Because if you can have a understanding or an operation of truth and honesty and, hey, everything is fixable, we just have to be honest and upfront about it, then we can all move forward in a fair and reasonable way. And there's no reason that you have to feel upset even years later, that this didn't go according.
I mean, it's sad because we live in a society that more people should be more nice as a people, but when it all comes down to the mighty buck, that's what usually happens. Someone's going to get hurt.
Yeah.
It is unfortunate.
Well,
but
we are sorry that you got hurt, Jack.
It's all right, though. I like the show. You guys are very educational, and you guys are awesome.
Oh, thanks, Jack. We appreciate you listening and appreciate you calling. Please call back anytime.
Yeah, share any stories with us. We're happy to talk.
Yeah, we're happy to talk. Always.
Plenty of them.
You can be our new co-host if you'd like. You can call in every Tuesday.
You can take my place.
You can take Mary's spot because she's never here.
Well, Mary's probably home getting prepared for Thanksgiving, so.
More like preparing for a wedding in 7 months, unfortunately.
Yeah. Mary has a wedding that she's planning. Yeah.
Thank you.
Nice.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Jack.
But thank you. Have a good and happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Good night.
Good night. Fun. I love when people call. It means that people are listening.
Oh, I'm glad that
people like Jack.
Everybody was able to hear his story because that is it is very much commonplace. Unfortunately, and the disappointment comes from the misalignment of expectations. I mean, I can't say it enough.
I wanted to ask him, maybe if he does call every Tuesday, he can tell us, I'm curious of how the whole transaction went, because like I said earlier, you really do know, you kind of know the tone of how things are going to go in the beginning. So I'm curious, but we only have 5 minutes left, so let's get our very important points out here. What else do we have?
We were talking about trash cans.
Yeah, so trash cans.
So it is unreasonable.
Talking about trash.
It is unreasonable, in my opinion, for a seller to leave trash that is not going to be picked up in the immediate future, and immediate being within 24 hours, unless it's relayed prior to, hey, I'm so sorry, we weren't able to get this out, and we have somebody coming to pick it up, whatever that may be. If it's not within 24 hours, it needs to be relayed to the buyer, in my opinion, as to when it's being picked up.
Yeah.
Because your buyers are going to have trash.
Yeah.
They're going to be getting rid of
trash.
Stuff.
Everyone's got baggage.
A lot of us got more than we want.
Yeah.
Reasonable expectation. I would expect a few little nail holes in the walls here and there, but I would expect anything that's significant in size to be patched and painted.
Yeah. We're not talking about somebody punched a hole in the wall. We're talking about somebody.
But even little nail. We live in a world where people like to hang a lot of signs. Yeah. Collages are a big thing.
We got a lot hung up here at Boston Connect Real Estate.
We got a lot of collages these days, so you have to be conscientious of, maybe the buyer wasn't anticipating going in there and painting and patching every single wall. Yeah. And if that's the case, it needs to be relayed. So communication. Communication is the best policy throughout any type of real estate transaction.
Any transaction in life. Anything
Sellers
in life.
don't be scared to talk to your agents, and agents don't be scared to talk to your co-brokes. And buyers agents, don't be scared to talk to your buyers.
Yeah.
Say, let's set this up so
and
you understand
you all
what's
don't
going
be
on.
scared to talk Real Estate Roundtable, so you can call us.
I feel like we just did a little round robin there.
Yeah, round table.
Yeah.
I don't know, I was trying to tie that in.
Agents are there to act as mediators and experts for how your transaction is supposed to go. Yeah. So lean into them for that.
I would walk in.
Lean into us for that.
Lean into us. I would walk into a final walkthrough as an agent and be like, there's no need for you to get upset. My job is to get upset for you. So I'll take care of it if there are things that are wrong.
Oh,
so you just point anything
You were
out?
describing my last final walkthrough
perfectly.
perfectly.
You just point anything out, and I will stay cool, calm, collected, professional in front of you, and then I will, kindly ask for these things to be removed.
I'm a picture snapper.
Yeah.
So I walk through a
picture
final walkthrough.
Is 1,000 words.
Well, a final walkthrough day, I'm just walking around. I'm letting the buyers do kind of their thing, and I'll just snap pictures kind of as I go.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, how are we feeling about everything?
Yeah. And we didn't get to your big sort of story, and maybe next Tuesday
we can do a continuation.
We can talk about that. But yeah, because we only have a minute and a half or 2 minutes left. So I was going to say thank you so much for joining me, Mary, but that's not
Oh
true.
my-
It's your show, too. Oh, and I can hear our song. So if you want to listen to any of our past shows, you can go to talkrealestateroundtable.com. You can go to bostonconnect.com and find all of our contact information, and give us a call if you need a buyer's agent, a seller's agent, whatever. So, Mary,
Thanks for calling, Jack.
thanks for calling,
Happy
Jack.
Thanksgiving, everybody.
Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. And I'm starving, so we're going to dinner. Bye.